Yo, what's up guys? One of the units that you guys requested was Bael. Not Baelgar from BG5, but Bael as in Fire Demon. Pretty interesting unit. I actually did use it in the past to get Legend way back, so I think like 2-3 years back. And it was pretty much a Abellio meta. And this thing has a pretty interesting kit against Abellio. Currently we don't see any Abellios at all in arena defense. But this thing is definitely still interesting. It was recently buffed, so let's look at this unit. I'll showcase a few of the comps that I recommend to use it in, and then just let's look at the damage, because I actually have never used him after the buff again. So let's see. Well, skill 1 doesn't really matter. It's just like all of those demons. Skill 2, not gonna use that all too much as well, but it is a nice, decent cleanup kind of skill of AoE hitting. But it's that third skill. That third skill is pretty interesting because it always performs a attribute advantage hit. So it is a lot better than non-glancing, because non-glancing means you still need 100% crit rate. Plus it means you can miss crit on the wrong element. In this case, a attribute advantage is the same thing as a Theomars and Perna. Oh no, wait, Perna doesn't do that. Never mind, no Perna, just Theomars. You always have attribute advantage and you can crit on water. Block all enemies, excluding boss, for removing harmful effects for 2 turns. So that is countering the Juno meta that we have right now. That is also countering the Camilla meta that we have right now, because they would still have their defense break if this thing lands. Plus, inflicts continuous damage that can't be resisted by the number proportional to the damage dealt for 2 turns. So we don't really know how many debuffs of continuous damage this is going to be, but that is something that we're going to find out. It used to be resistible, but now it's irresistible. It also has an accuracy lead, which is interesting for a few of the teams here and there. So first of all, where would you use it? Well, I made an Excel sheet to explain a few of the teams where you could use it. I think the most common one is the one here in the middle, where you have a Adriana lead, and then you have these two as armor breakers. Tiana moving first, then Adriana. These two as armor breaks, could be a Nephthys, and then that's the lead, of course. And then the Bael hits. Very simple hit. It's pretty much the same thing that I used to, or currently do with an Alicia or a Sienna or something like that. You can do that with a Bael as well. Another option would, of course, be this one, where you have a Ganymede, pushbacks, also chances of cooldown increase. Then you do have to do it with a Galleon, which is a little bit more tricky. And then you go for the same route. Were you wanting to outspeed some things, then it's definitely this route, where you go with an Asher or a fast Adriana into a Chiwu, into an armor breaker. If you go Asher, you have to go for Galleon. If you go Adriana, I would recommend one of these two. And then you go for the Chiwu and into the Bael. You can also use it in the same way as I showcased it with the Christina yesterday or the day before. You could use it at the exact same position, but I do think that a Christina is probably best in slot in that option. And then, of course, you could go for the fun build, which is just super high damage. What would I think is the most useful one is probably this one. I think this one in current meta is probably the one that you are going to be using most. So I'm going to be trying out, in this case, both the setups with the Adriana and then a Jasmine, and then also a Nephthys version of it. It gives a little bit more chance of outspeeding. People are often asking how to replace the Nephthys. It's by these two. That's the only two things that can actually properly replace the Nephthys. Does mean you're not going to have a speed lead, but that is just it. If you make your Tiana 100 as well, it's most likely fine. So I do think that those two teams are pretty useful. But then the big question is he going to be better than an Alicia or a Sienna or anything else that I use in that slot? That's going to be pretty interesting. Talking about the leads, in most cases where you do have a speed lead, you go speed lead. If you have an attack lead, you go attack lead. But for example, this one doesn't really have any leads in there. Same for this one. So for that reason, you could go to 55 accuracy lead that this unit has, and then go lower on the accuracy on these two units, which is pretty useful. Plus it's useful for his own skill 3 as well, I guess. I would still recommend to put some accuracy on him, because you're not really always using him in here, unless you build him super slow that you always just use him here. Then you could, but otherwise, if you build him for any of those, I would give some accuracy, just to overcome the amount where you can at least land the remove harmful effect block thingy, whatever it's called. So this is the team that I'll be showcasing first. Just to showcase the units real quick, I would recommend high accuracy on this, but I would recommend triple fight. Same thing for this, triple fight, that is the way to go for all of those units. I would put artifacts on it and max out the accuracy, but... And then the Tiana, I do recommend 100 res will if you tend to use it in this kind of scenario, because then there's less odds for you to get strip stunned by Juno or anything like that. And then you have this thing, which is currently a pretty high crit damage, attack, decent speed, 26 accuracy. It does have skill 3 for the higher extra damage. Crit damage is max, crit damage is up. And let's see how much damage we can actually do. Okay, I'm gonna get that notification where I don't have that artifact because I didn't place the artifacts on the Jasmine. But I'm pretty curious to see how much damage you will do on this. So Bael does have a few skins where he's as big as 3 characters, but that's nothing new. If you use the Jasmine, I do recommend putting Jasmine on 15 crit rate. If you don't put Jasmine on 15 crit rate, it's going to be a bad day. How much damage do? We do, okay, close to 55, and we land 4 dots. Those 4 dots did not kill, so that is a little bit less damage than I was expecting, because most units around these sets tend to kill this kind of stuff. So that is a little bit less damage than expected out there. But let's see if we use it into other people, how good it is. I'm currently rank 6, so there's probably some teams out there that should be working against this. This could be one of those teams where you could use that first team with the... Well, the issue is, oh no, that's actually one of the reasons why I stopped using that in a Leo setup. If you use it into a Triton, it's very likely that your Bael doesn't get pushed back, while your other units do get pushed back. So for that reason, it's already where I would say that the Christina is probably better, or some other unit in that position is probably better. But let's see if we hit this one. If we can hit this one, we do have the issue with the... Manon, so if there was a Camilla in there, it would have been a little bit easier. Did get landed on that one, but that is still fine if we then afterwards just move. So let's see how much damage output we are going to have. Let's just hope that the unit... Okay, we did miss on this one, which is kind of bad, but let's see about the damage output. Okay, it was nullified on 2 units, which is really not that great, but we can see this over here. Plus, Byunjo will never focus that unit in the first place. And having Juno getting dotted is kind of funny-ish. It still did heal a decent amount or something. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Let's see how the cleanup on skill 2 is. So we do have, of course, that kind of cleanup. But this cleanup, wow, that is a very strong cleanup. So if he does get that extra turn, he's definitely going to be hitting pretty darn hard. So that is definitely a nice part about Bael. His S1 and S2 still do a lot of damage, whereas all of the others, or a lot of the other kind of units, if you use, well, Sienna has a strong S2 as well, but there's quite some that don't really have that strong of an S2. So in this case, I wouldn't really recommend to use this, even if you were to outspeed it with a Chiwu. It's just you kind of have that more issue in there. So the more issue in there makes it a little bit worse. You could go for the setup if you were to go for a... Can we do that in current setup? I think you are fast enough. With a Nephthys. With a Nephthys, I think it is fine. Let's see. Okay, boosted the speed of this thing a little bit, then it should be fine. So, since we have the Adriana, with the Adriana, it is fine. Can you do this without a Nephthys? No, this particular hit wouldn't really recommend that without a Nephthys. You would really have to pray on like things not landing. You could do this a slight different route with maybe a... Well, no, I would... Because of the more, I would just not do it. Okay, also the more just went for its skills over there, but decided not to strip that much. But let's see how much damage we can do. 50k, 27k. It's not that much damage on this one. I was hoping he would do more damage to the Byuntil. It does give a decent amount of debuffs where I would say like, okay, it's kind of fun, nice and all, but he's not that much one-shotting on... A similar set on an Alicia that would definitely one-shot. So let's check out a few more hits. So this one definitely no-go because of the Zen. This one no-go because of that. Well, does that actually make it a no-go? No, for the normal Jasmine, this doesn't matter at all. It's actually a pretty good test for the Jasmine, I would say. Okay, let's see how this would work out. Because we have a Camilla in here, we do have a Juno in here. And those are 2 units that he actually does quite counter himself. If we were to land armor breaks. So that's kind of the bad part. We do get decent amount of damage on both units. Of course, we cannot get the buff block on that part. We did get a good amount of damage, of course, still on that Tiana. That's the main thing about this comp as well. You want to get a good Tiani in there, so you do have the chance of killing that. Of course, the Jasmine is very strong for that skill as well. So, yeah, after all the cleanup, it's kind of fine, but... Is it really the safest of hits? Is it really the best in slot kind of unit? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't really say so that he would fit best in slot. So, let me find a team where I would say maybe he does fit the best in slot. which might be an interesting one. And this is definitely one of those super meta defenses out there right now. Let's see if we can actually hit that, because I do think there's good odds for me being able to clear this team. I would still say that an Alicia maybe does this better on the exact same set. I probably do think so, but let's see. We did miss on that one. That is kind of fine for now, I guess. And we do land decent damage. Did kill that instantly. The Camilla couldn't cleanse. Well, on the second time could cleanse. On the third time it is annoying. Did not reset that part as well. Does go for an additional turn. It's a typical day in Summoners War. Don't we just love those kind of days? Where nothing in life lands. They all take 3 extra turns. And are we still going to win that? I think you took enough turns. I'm not entirely sure what gives that away, but I do think you took enough turns. You gotta resist that. You do really want to win this one. Freaking Camillas, man. Freaking Camillas. I had a comment under my last rush video of people saying, like, yeah, this is the reason I don't rush anymore. Too many toxic defenses with Byuncho and Camillas and that kind of stuff. I don't think they're that bad. They're just really bad if you don't land your stuff and it goes 16 times in a row. That's the point where it goes kind of bad, but that's also showing the importance of having other good units ruined next to you. You're just your damage dealer, because then you can still win those matches, even if shit just goes really to shit as it went in that last match, because that really did go to shit over there. But let's give that another try, okay? Doesn't do anything. That is totally fine. Can we hit our stuff, land our stuff, and do our crazy big hit? Gucci skill 3. Do we get everything? We do get not everything on that one over there. It does have a pretty fast animation that did do good damage, but you're just not really killing the Byuncho, whereas I would say that a Alicia has more odds of killing a Byuncho with that altogether as well. So I'm not too sure if I would say that I would really recommend people to use this thing. You don't have an Alicia, or you don't have any other usages, or you don't have any other units that might fit it, then definitely could be a thing that you could use over there. But let's also, just for fun, try out what is the maximum amount of damage if we were to go for maximum amount of damage. And how do we do maximum amount of damage? Deborah. Always with a Deborah. That's just how things work. Let's see. We are by the mercy of the Galleon. Everything is triple fight except the Tiana. Let's see how much damage we can do. Do land everything. Yay, that's nice. How much damage is this going to do? 80k, and everything is fucking dead. So, yeah, with a Deborah, everything is still fucking dead. But would you rather just use a Kaki for that reason? I would probably say so. So, how good is a Bael in the end? I think he's decent. I don't think he's super great. I think, in all honesty, I would rather take a Kaki than a Bael in most situations. He is pretty nice for that remove harmful effect block kind of thing. Continuous damage, of course, could finalize a kill if something happens. But the thing is, it's not doing enough damage to, for example, a Byuncho that it could just go straight through death because of this thing. So, yeah, it's not really that crazy good. So that's my verdict on the Bael. I do think he is definitely worth building if you don't have anyone else. But if you do have a few other units like that Alicia, like that Poseidon, like that Siana, like that, there's just a whole bunch of other units out there. I would rather go for those than for a Bael in the current moment, because you kind of want to have that multi-shot or that double shot, triple shot, where Alicia, for example, already drops the HP of a Byuncho and then goes for the additional hit. That is the thing that is killing Byunchos, but just sniping a Byuncho from full HP to 0, it's pretty hard to do. It does do a decent amount of damage on Camillas. It does give a chance to kill Camillas fully, so that part is definitely nice. It does also counter Juno, which is pretty nice, but I don't think it is enough. I would have to say I do like him as a Juno counter. As a Juno counter, it's definitely a pretty nice unit. But then again, there's a lot of units that can just simply one-shot a Juno, and just killing it is better than just giving it a few dots and giving it the buff block, I guess so. However, don't get me wrong, I do think Bael is very strong, but he's not a best in slot. He's maybe a second or third best in slot, and there's probably better other units out there that you could choose from. However, if you don't have those, I do think Bael is a very good option for you to build for arena offense, and he does do a good amount of damage, and he does counter the current meta pretty decently. It's just the Byuncho he struggles with. So if there's any other unit you would like me to test, let me know in the comments and hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab, which has the dungeon guide archive and the video guide archive, which contains all of the guides that you need. Hope to see you there.